And welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Senator Kamala Harris has officially dropped out of the 2020 presidential race. What does this mean with 15 remaining Democratic candidates? Meanwhile, House Democrats approve a report that found evidence of President Donald Trump's misconduct. What does this mean for the rest of his presidency? And then, on a local front, New York City is increasing criminal reforms, but many representatives are against us. Giving us more information on these events and how it's affecting us is Michael Benjamin, Associate Editorial Page Editor of the New York Post. And Mike, good to have you again.
Pleasure to be on, Darren. How are you?
I'm doing good, doing good. Let's get right at it. Listen, Senator Kamala Harris drops out of the race. Reports say she didn't just have enough funds to be able to continue. What does Kamala Harris dropping out of the presidential race mean for Democrats?
Well, she dropped out because she had a very disorganized campaign. She was running as a prosecutor in an age where criminal justice reform is at the forefront, so she's out of step entirely with most of the progressive liberal voters, or at least groups that are out there, and it stalled her campaign. And she wasn't a very good campaign manager, and she really shouldn't even have been a candidate for president. It just it reduces the field. Some are upset because there's now one less woman and one less person of color who'll be on the debate stage later this month. To me, that's not important. As important are the policies, and I think African American voters and other voters of color care about policies and not so much what a candidate looks like.
Well, you got questions that are being asked. I mean, I think they're legitimate questions when you talk about the fact that the people who are actually running do have a great, war chest in terms of finances. And then when you turn around and you have Kamala Harris, and then you also have a Senator Cory Booker, who's still in the race but doesn't have enough money to actually make it to the debate stage, questions have to be asked about, financial, the financial component and what that means in being able to have a voice.
Well, yeah, but obviously, if they had a real program of policies and proposals, they'd be able to attract voters. And I think that's their main problem. It's not because of the people of color, because they haven't been able to present proposals and plans and programs that attract supporters who would want to give them money. I mean, there's a lot of talk about Tom Steyer and Mike Bloomberg being possibly on the debate stage and being up in the polls because their billions are buying them access. Yes, that may well be true, but they're not. Neither one of them is going to be president of the United States. I mean, I'm almost certain that Tom Steyer and Mike Bloomberg will not be a Democratic nominee for president of the United States come next July.
We've seen stranger
things. We should focus.
Yeah. What'd you say?
No, I think we should focus on what are the policies that the Democrats want to see, and how they're best going to be able to defeat President Trump in the key swing states that are going to be key to Trump's reelection and were key to his election in 2016.
Well, we want to talk about the impeachment because the House Intel Committee voted to send impeachment proceedings to the Judiciary Committee, and that is a huge step forward for Democrats. What are we seeing, and what do you anticipate happening here with the report now going to the Judiciary Committee?
The Judiciary Committee is going to come up with the bill of particulars for the articles of impeachment. They'll include much of what's in that report coming from the House Intel Committee. I think they're also going to include information that comes from the Robert Mueller report about the president's efforts to obstruct justice when it came to Russian interference and trying to protect his guys who may have been involved in the Russian disinformation effort around Hillary Clinton. Mm-hmm. The Democrats, this is totally partisan. The Republicans are in lockstep with the president. They're going to be opposed to the proceedings, the articles of impeachment, and then when it eventually proceeds to the Senate sometime next year for a trial, they're also going to be in lockstep with the president. The impeachment will occur. You'll have the articles of impeachment, but will the president be convicted and thrown out of office by the Senate that Republican control? No. But what it's going to do is going to present Americans and American voters with a clear understanding of what President Trump has done when it comes to obstructing justice, when it comes to obstructing investigations into Russian collusion, and when it comes into using his office to go after Joe Biden, a political enemy in this case, and using foreign aid to do that.
And given it's a presidential election, we're getting towards the end of the race. Talk to me about how effective this is going to be. This is a strategy, of course, the Democrats are hoping they will be able to swing some voters by the time presidential election hits. Do you anticipate or predict that, given the fact that they're doing this with all the information that's coming forward, that it's actually going to swing in Democrats' favor?
I think it can if it's properly presented and explained to the American public, and it's laid out systematically to show where the president has violated law, where he has shown himself to be unsuitable to be president, where he's actually violated the Constitution, and lay all that out. And I think they're not focusing on Democratic voters; they're focusing on independent swing voters who will determine what will happen in key states like Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, those places where they could swing and could elect the next Democrat in the 2020 election. And to lay that logically and something that the public can follow, particularly swing voters, I think they could be successful. People really aren't satisfied with this president, the way in which he comports himself, and the way in which he has used his office and his power to try to obstruct investigations and try to protect himself and go after his enemies in a way in which he denigrates his enemies in public and on Twitter.
Let me bring it a little closer home, Michael. Talking a little bit about criminal justice reform. Obviously, legislation has passed. Everybody's not necessarily happy. Bring us up to speed with where we're seeing criminal justice reform, particularly the end to the cash bail system.
Yeah, as of January 1st, cash bail will no longer be required for most nonviolent offenses and even some violent offenses. But the real issue with the reforms, including discovery reform, where prosecutors and police will have to present within a certain time frame, I believe it's 2 or 3 weeks, to the defense counsel, what is their evidence against the person who's being charged and detained. The objection to that is, one, there is no money in place to allow prosecutors outside of New York City, in many of the smaller counties that don't have a big tax base, don't have a lot of money, where they have to upgrade the computer systems to be able to compile all this data and get it out in time, to be able to have pre-trial services for persons who may be at risk to repeat offenses, where they can at least keep track of them. That costs money, and none of that was allocated by the state legislature or the governor in this year's budget. They're saying they can use the savings from not locking people up in county and city jail. Well, you're not going to see those savings for another couple of years. So the governor and Speaker Hasty and Senate Majority Leader Stuart Cousins are misleading the public. Yes, some of these things are worthy. Some people should not be held on cash bail, but also the system needs to be properly funded to make sure it works correctly. And there's concern that in the discovery process, they have to share information about witnesses that unscrupulous attorneys may share with their clients, which could put witnesses in danger.
Well, we're going to keep our public, of course, updated on the criminal justice reform and all these breaking stories. Michael, thank you for joining us, and of course, we'll have you back to discuss this and more.
My pleasure, Darren, and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Oh, we were going to talk before now, I think. I hope so.
All right.
All right,
Thanks.
buddy.
All right,
all right, taking a quick break. We got more open. Stay with us. We'll come right back right after this.